Hey there, friends. Welcome to Hawkeye Speaks. We're over here at the spring, filling up the tank. I'm going to do a quick chat about the moral calamity of veganism. This is something that I've been thinking about for many, many years, and is also in response to a podcast that I heard a few years ago, or maybe a year ago, which was titled The Moral Calamity of Carnism. And carnism is a word that they made up for that podcast. Never heard it before. It's adding ism to carnivore, turning they themselves, the vegans, purveyors of that podcast, were creating this word carnism to essentially demonize the eating of meat and create this camp where they portray the people who eat meat as having some agenda. Carnism, an ism, it's like a religion. It's a belief in something. It's a belief in something that you buy into. This is what isms are. Isms and schisms. Most isms are a bad thing, in case anyone hasn't noticed yet. And as I said, carnism is not a real thing. I have met several carnivores and watched a lot of carnivore people online. I was kind of surprised to find out that there are so many carnivores, and many that don't eat any plant substances at all, that eat only animals and animal products. And I have never encountered a single one of them that had a religious view about it and that demonized an opposite view. That's people that eat meat that say that those other people that eat vegetables do it for malicious reasons, out of malicious intent. So I certainly have never encountered that one. I myself have been a vegan and a vegetarian. I tried out being a vegan back in 1992 when I was 12 years old. Did it for several years, and then again in my 20s. I was a vegan for many years. But luckily, I was not sucked into the trap of veganism, a demonizing of eating animals. I did it for my own personal reasons. I tried it. I was under the impression that eating meat is potentially dangerous for your health, but more so, it was an environmental thing, and more so than that, it was kind of a spiritual thing. This belief that we kind of take on the emotional life of the animals we consume. Well, there may be truth in that, but there also is truth in the idea that some people are very weak and susceptible, and other people are resilient. And once again, in my more thorough investigations of the situation, I found that I don't find the beliefs to be true that people that are eating animals are more negative or more aggro or have more potential for health problems. What we see in America is that vegetarians and vegans are typically associated with a crowd that's living a healthier lifestyle, and that's where we see the benefits coming from. We parse out the diet itself. There's just as much potential for dangers in a vegetarian and vegan diet as there are for any type of health benefits. That's something to be aware of. But let's just put it out there that I'm not anti-vegetarian. I think if you want to be a vegetarian or a vegan, that's great. Give it a try. I would caution you that there is health risks to veganism, but there certainly are many vegans that are healthy enough and living happy lives, just as there are people that eat solely animals and are happy and healthy. So I don't caution against being a vegetarian or vegan. I caution against veganism, which is a specific thing. It is a religion in a way, in which people engage in the belief that not only the idea of eating animals, the practice of eating animals would be negative, but there's a very specific aspect where you you form the belief that the people that are eating animals are doing it for malicious reasons. That's what I really, feel the need to address here. And I picked up on that in that podcast that I had listened to called The Moral Calamity of Carnism, which I'll tell you, it was this guy, Dr. Bear Lando, who was someone who I had respect for. I had a lot of respect for him until I heard that podcast. And it is possible that we can hear someone say things and then we absolutely lose all interest in them and never want to hear another word out of their mouths. And it's something we all have to be careful about. Cancel culture sucks, but hey, I canceled Bear Lando is what I'm saying. I'm not really interested in hearing another word that he has to say after hearing how just painfully destructive these views of this idea of carnism were and are. They were saying such things as how in animal processing plants they bring the animals together to stare each other in the eyes, to create fear and raise the adrenaline levels before they kill them. And this kind of stuff is ludicrous. Ludicrous, okay? Us people that eat animals, we do not do things like that. Oh my goodness. No, anyone in their right mind uses compassionate kill methods, uses, the utmost of respect for the animal during their life and during their death, okay? The idea that people do malicious things with intent during the end of the animal's life to create some, they were implying that you want to have the meat be full of the adrenaline to then feed that into it's the absolute opposite. It's the absolute opposite, actually, is that you don't want to eat a scared animal. You want animals to be comfortable throughout their lives. And it's always, for those of us that have taken the lives of other animals for our own nourishment, it's an intense thing. It's not something that generally anyone in their right mind is going to be jumping for joy over. It's a very serious aspect of the entire thing. And that brings me to this other aspect, that this debate around eating animals and not eating animals, and these two camps of people have always been with us. But something funny that I listened to Michael Segru and Professor Darren Staloff, a lot lately. I've been listening to all of their old lectures from the 90s on philosophy over and over again. And one thing that Staloff says in one of the lectures, he's talking about this age-old debate of eating meat or not eating meat. And then he kind of points out that the crowd that eats meat is generally more informed. They're generally the ones that are doing more work with the environment and society. And the ones that are vegan are the ones that are more prohibitive, regulatory minded, okay? And that's an interesting thing to consider. That, and as you may, if whoever's actually listening to this, you can see, as I've said, I have tried it out both myself. I have tried it for years and years. I've been on both sides. I've eaten 0 animal products, and I've eaten exclusively animal foods. And I've been able to maintain vibrant health in both circumstances. So there is certainly not a fundamental truth to the idea that eating animals will cause you to have ill health. I mean, it's just not true. It's just not true on either side. What it is it's people's opinions, and it's fine to have your opinion and to exercise that opinion in the forming of your beliefs and carrying out of your practices. That's great. And once again, I don't disencourage anyone from being a vegetarian or a vegan, but veganism, the demonizing of eating animals, it's a disease that has crept into society. It's a moral corruptness that is based upon the ideas of supremacy, superiority, that anyone who engages in this type of thinking has positioned themselves as having the right answer, as knowing more than other people, as, being right. When, once again, we can see The bulk of the world's people rely on animal products for their sustenance. And throughout the history of humankind, we have relied on animals for our sustenance. So to say that it should not be allowed, or it's just an outright negative thing, is so closed-minded that it proves ignorance more than compassion. And then, to close this out, I'm not going to go on too long about this here at the moment. It's just kind of sitting on the side of the road here, and my tank will be full soon. The other important point that we need to consider is that the overpopulation agenda is an anti-human agenda. The climate change agenda is an anti-human agenda. These are agendas, ideologies that put humans as the problem, the cancer of the earth that should be removed. And one thing that I've seen is that what gets wrapped up into that is our view of all animals. We have domesticated animals that are under the management of humans, and they get bulked into this humans are bad. And then, unfortunately, even wild animals suffer the consequences of all life is bad, which is fundamentally, I believe, the wrong view for a successful, thriving world. I believe that the correct view, if we would like to see life around us, is that life is good, is that life creates life, pro-life to the maximum. And as I said, the overpopulation, the climate change, these are anti-human, anti-life agendas, friends. And the veganism agenda, I believe to be the same. It demonizes the eating of animals, but it also demonizes animal husbandry. It demonizes the keeping of animals. And many people don't seem to notice that humans have entirely upset the natural balance of wild animals. And they will not just bounce back on their own immediately by us just kind of stepping back. It actually takes our participation. And our relationship with domesticated animals is a huge piece of the puzzle where our use of domesticated animals is the interface between us and wild animals. It may seem strange, and especially to vegans, where we have an anti-human climate change folks, where you have this idea that we have to get off the land and the animals and nature can have it back, but it doesn't actually work like that. We're actually part of the picture. We're part of the system. And once again, our relationships with domesticated animals is kind of our interface between human societies and wild animal populations, and the success of nature to move forward in succession, forward in health. All right. So the land needs animal integration. Animals are not a novelty. Okay. Animals are our ancestors. Okay? They don't just come here before us. They make the world for us. Okay? They don't just go out and improve the conditions for us. They create the conditions for us. Life creates life. And to take this, we're not involved in that stance, it's a really complicit position, right? So the eating of animals, it's fine if you don't want to participate in it, but the veganism is a moral corruption where you allow yourself to feel that your views are superior to others, that one way is superior to another, and that those people that engage in that way are negative, they have malicious intent. That is moral poison. It's this type of thinking that allows environmentalists to believe that they're the ones that care about the environment and those other people don't care. They only care about money. And that's actually a ridiculous assumption that people form. If you travel around, you might actually find that farmers and ranchers are the ones that are actually working with the land and interfacing with it. And they do care very much about the land. Okay? Thanks for listening. I maintained the spring myself, did all the stonework this year. I just want to tell you, no one asked me to do this. No one pays me. I spent 100 hours of my own time this year fixing it up here and fixing the parking lot. Not because anyone asked me to, not because anyone told me to, not because anyone paid me to, but because it needed to be done. Okay? All interactions in nature are relationships. And it's time that we honor the reciprocity between us. Okay? Please do not look upon the people that choose to eat animals with malicious intent. Remove the malicious intent from your own eye before casting it into theirs. Love one another, work together, people and animals. Thanks for listening.